Hello, everyone. My name is Lynn McEntee, and I'm your humble host of Let's Talk Youth Connections Café, hosted by Let's Talk and Mokshacanadafoundation. It's a pleasure to be here today, and we're welcoming our guest attendees and a guest speaker today to talk about mental health and well-being. Before we get started on this virtual platform, we'll just do a short land acknowledgement to acknowledge the space we're on today and gathering. I would like to begin by acknowledging the Indigenous people of all the lands that we're on today. While we meet on a virtual platform, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the importance of the lands which we call home. And we're all here at home today and in a safe space to have a conversation about mental health and well-being. A little bit about the Let's Talk program is it's about connecting and creating and inspiring our youth of today. And we're very fortunate to run this program on an intimate level, but also on a group level as well. Thank you to Moksha Canada for allowing us to be here as well. And a little bit about our programming is to advance the public's appreciation of arts, music, and culture by organizing presentations and events such as these to delve into matters of the heart. So thank you for allowing us to be here today. I have an amazing guest speaker who has an amazing bio. I'm just so humbled to spend time with you. It's always a pleasure to speak and learn and grow. So short form, Dr. Hari, Dr. Garbharran, and he is just an expert in life and an expert in his field. A little bit about his background. He's a psychiatrist in child and adolescent adult psychiatry, focus on individual psychotherapy, marital therapy, and family therapy. But our focus today is youth and empowering the youth and how to engage in the community and access resources. So Dr. Hari, I welcome you today and thank you very much for joining us.
Good afternoon, Lynn, and everybody that's tuned in.
Yes.
First of all, I would like to thank the Moksha Canada Foundation, especially Mrs. Sunit Channon and Mrs. Lynn McEntee, who is our host today, for inviting me to deliver this talk via Zoom. It's my first talk over Zoom, although I've participated in Zoom meetings. It's my first talk, so I'll be a little hesitant here and there, and I hope you don't mind, considering my age. And Lynn forgot to mention that I'm retired since 2015, so not as sharp with my memory and my reflexes as I used to be. So please bear with me, and I'm sure you'll understand. Thanks and congratulations also to Let's Talk for their contribution to mental health and helping to remove the stigma associated with mental illness. My aim is to provide you with an overview of some of the important points which are emphasized in the areas of mental and physical well-being, especially with regard to our youth population. There is an abundance of information regarding the topic on the internet and in journals and magazines, etc. So you can always get access to them at your leisure. It would be appreciated if we could entertain questions at the end of the talk. If you feel the need to elaborate on or add more information to any of the points I have discussed, please feel free to do so. And if you can, keep a pen and paper handy so you'll remember what you want to ask me later.
Thank you.
Is the volume okay?
The volume is fantastic. And just for anybody that's tuning in, listening in, and who will in the future as well, we had posed some questions to Dr. Hari prior to our conversation today. And I don't know if you're okay, Dr. Hari, if we go through a few of them one by one, and then
Sure.
you can elaborate. And just reminding that we're here for Youth Connections Cafe, Let's Talk, connect, creating, and inspiring our youth of today and our supports in the community as a whole. Putting the unity back in community is truly what we're about. And Dr. Hari is here with us today to share his expertise. Although he mentioned he's retired, he's very active. So I think that that's very key and very key component to mention. You're active in life, active in community, and active in the matters of the heart. So thank you for that, Dr. Hari. The first question for you, and if you're okay with that, is really just please telling us about yourself and the work that you have focused on in the field of therapy through your career.
You've mentioned child, adolescent, and adult psychiatry, and adult obviously involves families, seniors, and the marital therapy, and I focus mainly on psychotherapy in these fields: individual, marital, family, bit of grief therapy when it was needed, and also I have had 5.5 years experience in the forensic psychiatry field with young offenders, being the chief psychiatrist in Alberta in forensic psychiatry for youth, and that is what made me move to Ontario. In fact, to do a fellowship in child psychiatry and teach and treat kids who did not have forensic histories, and help hopefully to prevent them from getting into the forensic system and getting criminal records and all that. So the last years, since 2004, I've concentrated mainly in that, although I continued with general psychiatry. I initially started off in South Africa, did my medical training there, did 2 postgraduate degrees in psychiatry there, proceeded to the UK, where I did another postgraduate degree. And it wasn't like I was collecting degrees, it was that I was forced to do them because everywhere I worked and studied, they were teaching institutions and they received subsidies from the government. And the professors in charge or deans would expect us to do exams or we get kicked out. And also prior to getting into medicine, I was a teacher, taught music from grades 1 to 10. So I worked with kids a lot. And what really got me interested in psychiatry was for my BA, after my teacher's diploma, 3-year teacher diploma, I majored in psychology and sociology. And it's funny how, you take baby steps and then you find your final vocation. And that led me to do psychiatry. And then coming to Canada, obviously, I had to do the registration exams, which were not easy because you had to do the whole of medicine, all the topics again, to show that you're competent. And then I did a fellowship, the FRCPC, which is a fellowship of the Royal College of Canada, fellowship of the Royal, FRCPC is fellow of the Royal College of Physicians. So psychiatry comes under medicine, and mental health is so important. And it's something we should be free to talk about and not hide in, like we do in our clothes in a closet. And I'm glad that Bell, Let's Talk, and other initiatives are helping people to come out of the closet and talk openly about their experiences, especially, people in the sporting field, in the movie and singing, song fields, who are coming off and saying they need a mental health break and things like that. So it encourages our younger people especially to open up and talk about the problems earlier rather than later, which is always a plus, because the longer we leave these things, the harder it is to treat, and the more severe they become and lead to significant mental illness, and in some cases, even suicide, or getting stuck onto higher, at least more potent drugs, and what that leads to. So to continue, you got any other questions there?
Thank you. I find that coming out of the closet is really key. And I think that that's very important. And I think people are starting to appreciate that. So thank you for highlighting that and how important that is, and the freedom to come out of the closet and have these conversations. As you mentioned, suicide is being prevalent, in cases where, you're masking and you're covering and you're hiding. The ability to be able to speak freely in a community where you're embraced by the community is so key. And this is what we're doing today. All of the people that are attending today, we're embracing our youth in this conversation to say that it's okay to step outside the box and have the conversation with elders like ourselves and others. So Dr. Hattie, thank you. The second question was, what is mental well-being? And then we're talking about the subcategories that it reaches in the physical well-being as well. So if you could
I'll be covering that in my talk, Lynn, and if you got any further elaboration or queries, you could jot them down and ask at the end after I present the content of my talk.
Sure, go for your talk.
Most of the other questions, you could just enumerate them. I went over them in detail, and you said them the night before after I had prepared my speech, but I noted that I covered most of them.
Yeah,
except resources, except resources, which I didn't note down, but I'll speak off the cuff about them.
You're going to be amazing.
Please enumerate the questions for the audience so they could keep their ears open when I speak about those things. And ask more questions later. And let's hope we have time for questions, because there's quite a lot to cover.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll just go through the questions that we had issued to Dr. Harry. What is mental and well-being and subcategories such as physical well-being? And how important is it to identify this balance early in life and the tools required to sustain that in our youth? What are some areas of focus, challenges that our youth face today? As Dr. Harry mentioned, suicide. Is that different from previous years? And if so, how? And how can youth access resources? And then perhaps words of wisdom from Dr. Harry. So it's all encompassing, and it's wherever this platform takes us. So these are some general talking points, but we don't have to stick to them entirely. So yeah, go for it, Dr. Harry. We're here for you. Yeah. And thank you very much.
Right. And to continue, it is understandable that with issues of a personal nature, there's reluctance to discuss them on an open forum like this. So you may obtain my contact details from Lynn, and I will be only too happy to address them with you personally via the phone, WhatsApp, and email, whatever. And I'm surely Lynn will post them on the Moksha Canada website at some stage, at a later stage. Okay. Coming back to the content of my talk again, positive mental health improves happiness and can help children and youth weather the normal ups and downs of life. Right? So positive mental health, happiness, and facing the ups and downs of life are all interrelated. Mental health is more than the absence of mental illness. That's a crucial thing to remember. Right? People think only when they have mental illness they should go for help. But if they are suffering poor mental health, better to nip things in the bud and find ways and means of improving that. And hopefully my talk will help you in that regard. Positive mental health is a state of well-being that allows us to enjoy our lives and can help children and youth weather the normal ups and downs of life, as I said already. Positive mental health includes a variety of components of well-being, including positive emotions, your feelings, etc., life satisfaction, sense of self-worth, positive psychological coping and adaptation, social and emotional competencies, positive relationships and attitudes. Good mental health is also not static. This is important. It changes over time, depending on what is happening in our lives. That is why, just like our physical health, we must work at it. Some people, for instance, when they're single, may go through ups and downs with their mental health, and then they find stability in their marriage. Those are fortunate people, and change for the better. Some have a lot of stability before marriage, and after marriage become unstable. So it also depends circumstances in your life, where you are and which stage of life you are. Obviously, work, whatever work you do, the school you go to, things like bullying, cyberbullying, and put downs by peers and co-workers for the older youth are all detrimental to mental health. You may ask, and I think Lynn asked in one of her questions, why is mental health important? A strong foundation in childhood can lead to a healthy, happy, and productive life. Good mental health contributes to strong relationships and better health at home and school. It can also help to prevent the onset of other mental health issues like anxiety and depression. In fact, the most common psychiatric disorder, which I'm not going to go into detail today because it's out of scope of this the topic today, is generalized anxiety disorder. And this is all across the board, from children, adolescents, adults, and seniors. Positive mental health is positively associated with academic success, and later, obviously, occupational, that's work success and happiness, positive connections, positive adaptations, pro-social attitudes and behaviors, healthy lifestyle behaviors. I could spend hours talking about the second last point there, the pro-social attitudes and behaviors. Despite parents providing the children with a platform to learn pro-social attitudes, sometimes peer relationships are so powerful that they override whatever the parents teach the kids, and people join the wrong crowd and do the wrong things. And I've seen in my forensic work in Alberta, kids from good homes, children of professionals or well-to-do blue-collar workers, join the wrong crowd and get arrested for being in a car that was stolen, or joining in petty theft just for fun. And, so that's a very important point to remember. How can parents support positive mental health? Parents can help support positive mental health by forming strong and caring relationships with their children. Parents should firstly connect, that is, talk and listen to their children's feelings and experiences, and be patient about it. Give them enough time to talk with fewer interjections, if possible. Be active together, take a walk, and build physical activity into family time. Take notice, encourage, and praise the positive behaviors and choices your children make. If they have a passion for something, and if you don't agree with that, give them a chance to prove themselves. And, many musicians were discouraged by their parents to get into the field and later proved the parents wrong. This was just one example. I'm sure you know of many more. Parents should also keep learning. Encourage your child to learn from both positive and negative experiences. They should also give their time, their words, their presence. Sometimes parents feel that they don't know what to say or how to interact with their youth. There are illustrated guides that have been developed by youth for the adults in their lives to help guide successful conversations. And these can be obtained from the internet. How can teachers promote positive mental health? School environment where kids spend a lot of time, it's like a second home to them, can help students build self-esteem, confidence, sense of control over their lives. Teachers can have a big impact on the lives of their students and have a role to play in developing positive mental health. Teachers and principals should strive to involve the whole school community and thus foster supportive relationships within their classrooms and schools. From time to time, over television or in newspapers, you find athletes who have excelled, or musicians who have excelled, or ballet dancers, giving credit to the teachers, the coaches, the physical education teacher, etc. So, these are very positive messages to other kids who may want to follow the instructions given by the teachers and become like their predecessors. From the negative impact stress has on one's health to the positive correlation between exercise and mood, scientific researchers now believe that mental health and physical health are intricately or fundamentally interconnected. The rise in mind-body connection research brings the linked interplay between mental health and physical health to the forefront of academic and professional discussions. The role of nutrition, which I will deal with more detail a bit later, in mental health and the psychological benefits of physical activity are key findings from these research studies. The connection between the mental and physical goes both ways, whereby one's physical health can influence one's mental health and vice versa. The connection is especially important in the formative teenage years when bodies are changing and hormones are developing. For example, teenage stress associated with social media pressure or cyberbullying can have a negative impact on a teenager's physical health. Further, a teenager who develops a healthy, balanced mind-body connection through exercise, nutrition, and enough sleep can see a positive impact later in their adult years. These points will be discussed in greater detail if you have enough time at the end. Every human body is full of trillions of bacteria, or germs as we used to call them. They are collectively known as the microbiome, microbiome. While some bacteria are associated with disease, others play a crucial role in bolstering the immune system, maintaining weight, and aiding many other aspects of health. An essential part of the microbiome is the gut biome in the intestines, the gastrointestinal system, which aids the processing and digestion of food. But beyond digestion, researchers have now found that the gut biome also affects the central nervous system, which includes the brain. So more research is being done in this field. And research is also showing that disturbance of the gut biome and stress, anxiety, and depression are related. And there's more research being done in this field. So we should see much more in the literature further down the line. Eating regular balanced meals consisting of whole foods, including proteins and vegetables, can have a positive effect on the mental health of a teenager. Research on the gut biome also shows that eating healthy can help reduce teenage stress. Beyond the role of nutrition in mental health, science also champions the psychological benefits of physical activity and mental health, which we'll dwell on a little more. The psychological benefits of physical activity are evident across many aspects of a teenager's life, as noted below. I'm focusing on teenagers. Obviously, this applies to us adults and seniors also. Right? Some of these aspects are healthier sleep patterns without insomnia. We'll elaborate on later on sleep. Better appetites for regular meals. More on nutrition later. Improved concentration and focus. Greater socialization. And I'll say a little more on socialization a little later. Not only does exercise improve issues with anxiety and depression, but it also has a positive impact on the social aspects of a teenager's life. Exercise causes pain in our muscles, and this leads to the release of good hormones like endorphins and cortisol, which have a positive effect on mood. Obviously, too much cortisol that comes with stress can have a negative effect and impair your sleep pattern, which I'll touch on a little later. Being physically active in a sports team builds teamwork and helps develop friendships. In addition to the correlation between exercise and mood, physical activity can benefit the relationship between teenagers and sleep. And parents know the challenges of trying to get a kid up to go to school, right? Especially if they've been gaming for most of the night or have been out for most of the night, had too much of caffeine, which disturbs the sleep, and they have difficulty getting up and going to school, and which disrupts the whole family life. Researchers now know, and I quote, "A deep body of evidence has linked physical and mental well-being to one another. Better physical health helps alleviate the symptoms of depression, while mental health disorders can also lead to worsened physical health." So it goes both ways. This relationship means that staying physically healthy is extremely important. The question is, how can we make this happen? I'll come back to that. I'll just add a little more on physical exercise. Adolescents benefit greatly from physical activity in various aspects, such as cardiovascular health, muscular fitness, bone health, maintaining healthy body weight, and psychosocial and mental health. The World Health Organization recommends that adolescents should engage in at least 60 minutes of moderate to vigorous intensity physical activity per day, including play, games, sports, and exercise, such as cycling or walking or physical education. How do we find a balance between mental health and physical health? Parents, teachers, caregivers can improve their teens' mental health and physical health by talking openly about some of the recent studies regarding the connection between the mental and physical. These are all available over the internet. And those of you who have access to journals and sports magazines, you can find an abundance of material on these topics. By noting the recommendations made by these studies, it provides a blueprint for a teenager to take proactive steps to find the balance between their mental and physical well-being. I have a note on exercise and how much we should do, but I don't think we'll have time to go into that. But maybe if you have a second, if you have a follow-up talk, the return of Dr. G, I'll probably be able to cover that those topics, right? And coming back to how we find the balance, first, we find a balance between mental activities and physical activities. Don't spend all day working out or reading a book. Instead, balance mental activities and physical activities For example, take a break from homework to take a walk in a park on a nice day. Talking about homework or studying or even working at the computer. You've all heard of the 20-20-20 idea, right? Every 20 minutes, look 20 feet away for 20 seconds. I add to that by doing my eye exercises. The eye muscles need to be exercised also. So look up, down, left, right, 2 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 4 o'clock, whatever. Rotate your eyes, right? And the other thing one should note that our attention concentration stays, we stay focused for about 90 minutes, and then it wanes. If you draw a graph, it goes up and then wanes after 90 minutes. And if we carry on working and studying at the computer or the books for more than 90 minutes, we are not at our best as far as memory goes or production goes. So it's best to take a break, called a micro break, right? Pour yourself a cup of beverage or some juice or lemon water. Go for a small walk around the office or to your front if the weather's good. Come back, and in this way you are resetting your attention span, and you resume your momentum for work, and do it for every 90 minutes or so. And you'll find you are more productive, you retain more as far as your memory goes, and you enjoy what you're doing more. And you get less stiffness in your back and in your body, because you've got the circulation going too. Secondly, a calm mind leads to a relaxed body. Tension and stress are challenges for both the mind and the body. By using meditation and breathing techniques, you can calm the mind, thus relaxing the body. There are several different guided meditation approaches available, such as Calm or Headspace, that can allow you to meditate on the go. Also, you can include yoga here, for those of you who do yoga. Thirdly, proper nutrition equals a big win. And we spoke about the gut biome, so I won't elaborate much on that. And balanced meal should include fruits and vegetables, and nuts and seeds and legumes, fresh produce, whole foods, fiber, very important, and healthy fats. Fourthly, express feelings appropriately and avoid keeping it all in. As Lynn mentioned, come out of the closet. Or if people around you who are friends, they could help you in this field to encourage you to express your feelings, seek help timeously. Limit screen time and encourage real life interactions. We spend too much time, our phones are attached to our hands, right? As seniors, we do that mainly because of we have concerns in case we have an emergency, a fall or what have you. But younger people should also enjoy, the signs and sounds of nature, breathe fresh air. All these are good for mental health. You go to the park and sometimes you see kids looking over the bridge, but looking at the phones instead of looking at the water and the plants and the ducks swimming in the lake. So try to cut down on screen time, and that includes gaming and checking other things on screen that waste your time. Obviously, social media has a lot of positive aspects as far as education goes, which we in our years never had, growing up years. So, I'm not saying it's all negative, but the idea is to have a mixture of physical activity and sitting at the screen. So have a break from it. Most essential and crucial portion of any nation's workforce is youth. It is believed that investing in education, wellness, and rights could lead to tremendous socioeconomic development with a large youth population. No wonder today's youth will be innovators, creators, builders, and leaders of tomorrow. Community leaders should take note and increase their efforts to work on these issues. There are approximately 1.8 billion adolescents and young people beyond the ages of 10 and 24 in the world today. Investing in their health and education can change their lives and positively impact the economy and society. India is now one of the world's most young countries, with over 62% of its working age 15 to 59 years, and over 54% of its total people below 25. In 2020, the average age of the Indian population was expected to be 20, compared to 40 in the US, 46 in Europe, and 47 years in Japan. This population advantage gives an advantage over other nations when we speak of demographic dividends. Today's youth are becoming increasingly restless, working hard to close the gaps. So they need all the help they can get from parents, teachers, principals, caregivers, community leaders, politicians, right? How are we for time?
Absolutely
Lynn?
great. We can just let it go where you feel comfortable, and amazing.
You sure?
We're doing
sure?
well. Very much so. Thank you.
Okay, and we started a bit late anyway.
A real pleasure to, just for anybody who's tuning in now, just reminding everyone we're here for Bell Let's Talk, Youth Connections Café. Thank you to Moksha Canada Foundation and Bell Let's Talk for allowing us to be here on this safe platform to discuss with our guest expert, Dr. Hadi, Dr. G.
I'm no expert, Lynn. You praise me too much. And my friends will tell you I don't like praise. I like to keep a low profile.
Yes.
Okay.
That's very endearing.
Anyway, right. Now, any talk on physical, mental, what have you, must include social. We are what we call psychosocial human beings. And we should always have a holistic approach to anything, any topic that we discuss, we should have this in mind, right? Even animals travel in herds, birds fly in flocks, birds pair up, build a nest, bring chicks into the chickens or whatever they call them into the world, little birds, right? And bio refers to biological, psychological refers to the psyche. Psyche, for those of us who might not know, is another name for the mind. Mind, psyche, and social is what I'm going to elaborate on now. We are in a loneliness epidemic. Feeling socially isolated has health consequences comparable to smoking up to 15 cigarettes daily. That's worrying, right? And it's not just seniors who get lonely. Even young children can get lonely, sometimes in their own homes where there are many other children. And parents should be aware of this and make sure to involve those kids that are in that situation in more family activities and spend a little more time with them or seek help for them. Loneliness can increase the risk of developing dementia later in life, depression and anxiety, among other health conditions. In the US, the Surgeon General issued a national advisory warning on the serious health effects of loneliness. Beyond the health benefits of feeling connected, the power of our social relationship largely determines the level of our happiness. Keeping and making friends from childhood to middle age and beyond is an integral part of staying healthy. Volunteering or joining activity groups or hobbies, to name a few, can help grant people a sense of connectedness. And it's also like a support system, a second family, you may call it. A recent survey in the US found a vast majority of adults, 87% in fact, view play as a pillar of their health, with many saying it helps them stay connected to others. Recently, you heard of pickleball. We can't play tennis, but you can play pickleball, right? So you can always substitute, right? If you can't play tennis, do what I do, take your racket and ball and hit the ball against a wall at the school, but don't get caught and don't break any windows, okay? So there's always things we could do, substitute things. You can't jog, walk. If you can't cycle, get a tricycle like I've got, which I haven't started using yet, but I plan to use. But make sure you use your helmet, even if it's not required by law. I think it's required, but adults know, but please use your helmet, right? It can save you from a head injury and even from death. Little bit more on socialization. Having friends, family, and other strong social ties through your career or volunteer work is essential for happiness. The World Happiness Report defines the social support factor as having someone you can rely on or reach out at times of need. I am doing some counseling now with seniors, which is a free service. And, I don't call it therapy because I'm no more registered with the College of Physicians and Surgeons of Ontario. But many people use that. And people keep thanking me for it. I say, no, don't. It's a two-way thing. It's connectedness for me also, and helps me get over loneliness also. So I don't have to go to one of the 5 senior groups that I belong to, and which I can't go on every day, obviously. So through the phone, WhatsApp, we keep connected. So I'm telling you something that I practice myself at this age. So start young. The earlier you start, the better. So coming back to the World Happiness Report, and I quote, they say, every available study of happy people suggests that happy people are more social, they spend more time with their friends and family members, and they're just around other people more often. There's a clear connection, therefore, between having more social connections and feeling happier. And that's one of the reasons the loneliness epidemic is so problematic, right? Because not everyone wants to be around people all the time. Some people prefer to be on their own. If they're happy to be on their own, that's fine. But if it's having a negative impact, then they should think of changing that habit. It's not about quantity when it comes to friendship, it's about quality. Having even 2 or 3 people in your life that you can feel will be there for you so that you can turn to them, providing you with support system, is something really important. Listening to the sounds of nature and breathing fresh air has been found to support happiness. Also, moving our bodies more daily does affect our happiness levels. I can't understand my own writing, according to some studies. Example, walking outside, you get the sounds of nature, you breathe fresh air, and sunlight, even on a cloudy day. Don't forget, the sun is behind those clouds, and you need that sunlight to convert vitamin D, which I made a note of, but I don't think we'll have time to discuss in detail. Maybe on another platform. Vitamin D, you can consume it via food, supplements, drops, whatever. It's vital to receive ultraviolet rays to convert that to the active form. Of course, to use some medical terms here, calciferol, cholecalciferol. These are the active ingredients that help you to, help you with your bone health and immune health. And vitamin D is also important as a precursor of another chemical called serotonin. And I'll mention a few foods that contain the precursor of serotonin later if we have time. Now, very quickly, following are the main health problems that adolescents face. Injuries and wounds. Adolescents are very much susceptible to unintentional injuries. Traffic accidents have accounted for countless lives in the previous years and it's still happening today. Every day on the news, you hear of people losing their lives through accidents. And unfortunately, many of them were just innocent pedestrians and cyclists. As a way forward, we as responsible citizens, community leaders, please listen. We need adherence to road safety laws and strengthen road laws. Cyclists, please wear helmets. Violence, secondly. Interpersonal violence accounts for nearly 1/3 of all adolescent male deaths in low and middle income countries globally. Interpersonal brutality is among the most significant cause of death among the youth worldwide. Its importance varies significantly by region of the world. Thirdly, mental well-being. We've touched on this several times during this talk. There are many determinants to juvenile well-being and mental health. Violence, exclusion, living in subhumanitarian and fragile settings can add to one's probability of developing mental health problems. Failure to address these would mean an invite to mental health consequences that last into adulthood, affecting physical and psychological health and restricting opportunities to life-fulfilling lives as grown-ups. I have much more to say, but not for today. I'll leave it open for questions, but one of the questions that Lynn put forward was what resources we have. And I'll dwell on a few minutes on what we have in Ontario and more here in Toronto and GTA. Firstly, if youth are having issues, the school counselor or psychologist is someone that can be approached. If they feel that this is much more than they can handle, they can refer the patient or advise them to see the caregiver, the family physician. School psychologists sometimes do some testing, like for attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or if they suspect autism or autistic spectrum disease, as we call it now, or personality issues or intellectual delay, and they can make the references after they put the results together, or they send that to a family physician who then follows up, sending them to a child psychiatrist, a psychologist, for further specialized treatment. Then we have CAMH, which is the Center for Addiction and Mental Health in downtown Toronto. I think you can go as walk-ins, but it's better if you go with a referral. Then we have in different areas CAMH, which is CMHA, Canadian Mental Health Association, and they have lots of services for youth. If you go to the internet and Google free counseling for youth, there are a number of free counseling institutions out there that work online. I worked at a center called the Hinks Dalcrest Center, which at the time in 2003 had 14 residential beds for kids who, for some reason, could not stay with their families, or the specialists felt that they needed to be away from their families for a while, receive therapy, and then return to their families. They attended school from there. This was different from the forensic unit I worked at in Alberta, where we had the school within the confines of the unit, because everything was locked up, right? Because if we let the kids go to school, they would obviously run away. So here, they were free to go, and they were allowed, when they were ready, to spend weekends at home, and there was a gradual return to home that was decided by our team. The one that's in Wellesley, opposite that, between Maitland and Wellesley, is a building. It's got a clinic, and it's got a lecture rooms, library, etc. It's opposite that collegiate there on the west side of Jarvis. They also have one for GTA. They will not accept anyone that lives north of Steeles Avenue, but we do have one branch of the Hinsdale Crest Center in Dovercourt. Dovercourt is somewhere around the Finch and Shepherd area. So that allows us to access their services, right? But go to the internet, there's a lot there. Speaking about internet, we all get lots of WhatsApp messages, good morning, good night, and some funny, some, stupid, some wise. But I came across two, which, I just thought I'd end up with. One says, love your life. Take pictures of everything. Tell people you love them. Talk to random strangers. Be careful of that. I don't fully agree with that, because sometimes you might get a punch coming at you or a slap. Do things that you're scared to do. So many of us die and no one remembers a thing we did. Take your life and make it the best story in the world. Don't waste it. Another one, and I promise you this is the last thing I'm going to say today, because I think I need a glass of water. There's something uniquely beautiful about a person that grows from his or her struggles and uses the lessons from their experiences to spread wisdom. It doesn't matter what you've done or how far you fell. Be the example that shows others that they can overcome that mountain too. Thank you for your patience and bearing with me.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Do you have any questions? Evelyn, are we allowed to entertain any questions?
Yes, very much so. Dr. Hadi, did you want to get a glass of water?
Yeah, I've got a bottle here.
Okay, you've got the water. Okay, super. Right. Let's open up the floor to questions. I see Jay, you were indicating first. Would you like to go ahead, please, and thank you?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So first of all, I thank Dr. G. You have explained every detail and you covered all the things, and it was very helpful. So the only thing is that something we have to look at the school level, the children and all this, when youth returns home, they need full privacy in their private room, and no parents or relative friends can enter their room or check anything and ask anything, because when they are disturbed and all that, then you can feel something is wrong, but they don't want to share their problem with the parents. They say, okay, these parents are only going to criticize and depress and down me, so they they don't treat them as your friends. In India, we mostly what we do that uh, we say when the child is between 1 year and 5 years, love them very like loving and all that. Then after 5 to 16, be little strict and they see, watch, and then teach them what is life and what is it. And after when they are 16 years and elder, then then become friends with them. Like all they can share. Daughters can share anything with their mothers and son also. They know that they are the helpful. So that is the one thing. So and also when they reach to the high school, the this youth, there should be there should be plan that they should visit this three institute. One is like prison, jail, mental health, and all that. Then they should see, oh, so one day if I don't follow all these rules, well, I will land there. Like it will be like my life will be like that. So immediately, with the permission of their parents. So that is the things I say like, and uh, there are many examples. One 16 years old, like he just got his nose operation, and then he was like he was completely mad. The doctor has done wrong thing, and he came home and he was with a baseball bat. He was breaking all the furniture and everything. He said, "Now, what is my life is gone." So there's my main point is like meditation and yoga and all other things. So we should give 2 credits in the school. So we say, okay, go there and go do this. No, so they should some like education system needs some improvement, and they should give 2 credits for all these like participate. And in Japan, in the office you can take small nap for 15 to 20 minutes, so relax. So yeah, that is my point. Yeah.
You made some very good points there.
Right.
Maybe I didn't emphasize the point enough when I said, what can parents do to improve teens' mental health? Don't criticize, right?
Yeah.
Allow the child to say whatever they say, no matter how much you want to cut across and stop them and say, look, I know where this is going. Please stop there. Let them finish saying what they are saying. So that allows them freedom of speech. We need to show them that they're free to express the feelings, show the emotions, cry, right? Regress, let them regress, and go on the floor and stamp the floor instead of hitting the wall. And let them work through those emotions. And once we give them that freedom, they grow up knowing that they have something to say. The other thing was, nowadays with the social media, you don't have to take people to prison, the kids to prison and all that, because that can be a scary thing too, right? We are scared of things like post-traumatic stress disorder, because some kids are very sensitive. They get so frightened, that they start suffering anxiety. And if that's not seen too early on, it can lead to serious things like post-traumatic stress disorder, which we can talk about at another stage. So showing videos and things like that are good. The other thing is, when I worked in the forensic section, in the unit, we had adults who were prisoners when they were young, and they made success of their lives socially, occupationally, and we got them to come and talk to the kids, and they would tell the kids, I was where you are at the moment, and look at where I am now, modeling. And kids learned much more from that, like real life talks like that, than from all the advice the parents gave them. I'm talking about those kids that had taken the wrong path. So thanks very much for that. There's much more to your question, I know, but let's give somebody else a chance to ask more questions.
Okay,
we can
thank you.
continue the talk at our senior meeting when Mr. Mera,
Yeah.
when we meet on Thursday.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you,
Take care.
Jay.
Have a good
Thank
day.
you.
God bless.
Thank you so
Okay.
much, Jay. And we have Maya coming up in a moment. So Dr. Hari, again, just as much as we teach business in school and financial management, incorporating coping mechanisms and skills development in programming would be very beneficial in our education system, is sort of what Jay is referring to as well. Let's
Very
teach kids that. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Very true.
Thank you. We'll hop over to
By
Maya.
the way,
Yes. Go ahead.
okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Maya.
Go ahead.
You're next.
Oh, hi. Hi, Harry.
Hi,
Hi, how are you?
Maya. Well, Maya, how are you?
Very good talk you had. I have one question which may not be related to mental health or may be related to, I have this question. Lately, you will see a lot of kids getting ADHD in schools at a younger thing, and I know a lot of cases.
Mhm.
And, it's very close to my heart as well. ADHD has connection with mental health. Or what can you shed a little light on it? What is ADHD? I know what it is, but can you?
Yeah.
I know it's a big topic, but can you just tell me, is there any
Very-
connection between the two?
Very briefly, the diagnosis in psychiatry keeps changing, and that's one of the negative criticisms we get. But just to be on the side of psychiatry, besides my being a psychiatrist, the mind is, something you can't grasp like the brain. You have gray matter, white matter, nerves, blood vessels, etc. The mind is like the brain being your hard drive and the mind being your software, your hardware and software. And the mind is different for different people. When we have identical brains, even identical twins can have anatomically and physiologically, the brains may be the same, but the minds may be different. One may, and you see movies made of this, one may be a criminal and a killer and the other an angel, right? So why did I go there? I don't know. But anyway, coming back to your question, so definitions change as we learn more and more about the mind. And so initially we should call it attention deficit disorder with hyperactivity or without hyperactivity. Now it's called attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, whether the child is hyperactive or not. And they have difficulty with attention, right, and concentration. They may be intelligent, have more than 100 IQs, but because they can't pay attention to the teachers, they or read, stay focused long enough to read and understand what they're saying, they fail, and that's the one area where stimulants are used, and it's remarkable the changes that does. I have an ex-patient of mine who is still taking his medications as an adult. He's almost 50, 60 at lower doses, because without it, he cannot function. And I'm sure he wouldn't mind if he's on today, I'm not mentioning his name, obviously, for confidential reasons, but he's functioning appropriately. But at one stage, he was all over the place. So that's one area, you get this kind of psychotherapy and some of these other highfalutin therapies they talk of. But we can deal with the mental health disorders in adolescents if Lynn can set that up at another date, and we can dwell more on that topic.
Yeah, very much so. Thank you. Coming from the education. Go ahead, Maya. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think there's a hope that this can be cured, like ADHD can be handled, or there's any medication, as you said, stimulants?
Yeah, there are medications.
That means
And
those
one of the first medications.
If the child is suffering and now he's had to go adulthood and go like that?
No, that's why I say medications are the one thing that really helps them. And one of the first ones was Ritalin, Ritalin.
Yeah.
I think it was called methylphenidate. It's too long since I prescribed medications, but I think the pharmacological name is methylphenidate. But now they have many more with less side effects. The thing that was
it
wrong
can't
with
be cured by itself. Like,
no, they can't
no,
outgrow it.
they can't grow out of it.
They'll carry on in life, but they may not succeed, like academically, for instance, or at work. They'll lose the jobs right away because instead of concentrating on, even if they're working at packing vegetables or fruit in the store, they'll go wandering off or not concentrate on the work and get fired. So they need that stimulant. And it's funny how a stimulant can calm a hyperactive brain, right? But there are many other medications. And Maya, just if you don't mind, we spoke about issues of sleep. With the food that I was mentioning, that contains what we call tryptophan, and that's a precursor of serotonin, which is a feel-good hormone.
Doctors do prescribe that sometimes, for the kind of medicine.
Tryptophan. Yeah, but
there's a lot of side effects.
Medications, when you take them, most of it is passed out, right? So it's best to get it from foods. And some of the foods that contain it are fruits like kiwi, banana, plantains, poultry, turkey, soybean, pineapples, and walnuts. Banana is great. It contains one of the fruits that contains the most serotonin. But we got to be careful for older people. But for the young, you see tennis players having a bite of banana in between sets or games. If a child is sad or stressed by exams, they should eat a banana and smile. It helps them improve the mood. So eating those foods are important. The other thing about caffeine, we should not have caffeine. We should say 6 o'clock should be our last. But now research has shown that it has a half-life of 4 to 6 hours. So half-life means the time it takes for it to reach half its concentration in the body, in the bloodstream. So 2 p.m. should be our last coffee. And we could have decaf, lemon water, smoothies, etc. after that. And having a power nap, if you have a lunchtime slump, take a power nap for 30 minutes. And you'll work much better in the afternoon. And employers should take note of this. They themselves and their workers should be allowed to have a 30-minute nap, and that helps so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, Maya. We'll speak later at our senior meeting.
Thank you, Maya. That was also an amazing question from Jay and Maya. Dr. Hari, we have another question, and it is from Deepak. And why are young people having difficulty in getting married and keeping marriage intact? How can they improve in their relationships and I guess in coping skills? Yeah. Yeah. Do we have about 10 more minutes or so?
I need to think about that one, Deepak, but some of the things, looking at our own experiences and our own marriages, I think building up a friendship, together with the romantic side of things is most important. Your partner should be your best friend, even before marriage. And the courtship should be longer than just jumping into a straight marriage, like after an overnight date. I think, and we should get to know each other's families well, customs, habits, bad habits, good habits, etc., and mold ourselves and to try and fit ourselves into to our spouses, our partners' families, and hopefully they will also do the same, reciprocate and do the same with our families. And once that happens, you become like a joint family. Some in-laws sometimes treat people treat their in-laws as if they are their own family. And you hear at weddings people say, "Welcome to our family. You are now a son or a daughter in our family." And one of the things I used to say to myself at weddings, I hope this couple will be as happy later in life as they are today. And, hopefully God will see them through, And unfortunately, they say 1 in 3 marriages end in divorce, as if when marriage walks in the door, love flies out of the window. You've heard of that saying, right? So I think, compatibility is very important even before marriage occurs. So being good friends, some people go on pre-honeymoon and come back and then get married. I don't know if I'm an advocate of that. I'm still old school. But if that works, hey, why not? Go for it. We got to live with the modern times now. But you know what? I'll read more on it, and maybe one day we'll chat over the phone about it.
Thank you, Deepak,
Okay.
for that question as well. Opening up
Lynn,
the floor, do you have about
looking
5
back
more
at your
minutes?
question. Sorry, Lynn, looking
Oh,
back at your
sorry.
questions, do you feel any elaboration on any of them?
Yes, for sure. You know what, do we have a little more time with you if everyone's okay with that? 5-10 more minutes?
Yeah, sure.
No problem.
Okay, super. We will open up the floor again. Anyone else like to pose a question to Dr. Hari? It's just wonderful being in the space with you and sharing your knowledge and guidance. A couple of us are commenting here in the chat. So thank you so much for imparting knowledge to us. And hopefully we'll share that with others in our community, because it is about...
Anytime.
Yeah.
You're welcome. You're most welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Questions for Dr. Hari? We have him for about another 10 minutes maximum. He's just an amazing resource. And, a couple of people commented, it's not only for young people. This is for intergenerational learning opportunities.
And that's what I said in my WhatsApp forward of your WhatsApp to my senior group members.
Yeah.
And I think I'll put on record, I thank Madhusuri, Neetu Singh, Sheila Sharma, who are members of our senior community, for posting the Lynn's WhatsApp message and spreading it to all our senior members, because they have grandchildren too. So I'm sure they can pick up some of pearls of wisdom from this talk, I hope.
No, absolutely. Get 100%. So thank you for that. Thank you for those that enabled this opportunity for other guests to attend. We're having a little bit more time with Dr. Hari. He is sharing his knowledge in life and his work that he does. We're here for Bell Let's Talk, Youth Connections Café. Once again, thank you to Moksha Canada Foundation and Sunil Channon for allowing this opportunity for us to be in this safe space and platform to explore and discuss. So we have a little bit more time. A couple more questions. Dr. Hari, I've worked in the education field as well, in internationals and mental health. So you had mentioned and how important it is at a young age to impart that knowledge. Someone had asked about medication, and when we're talking about resources, sometimes people don't always have access to resources of medication, or maybe perhaps their parents don't want them to take medication. Could you make any comment on that?
I don't, especially in mental health, it comes to mental health and mental health disorders. I'm not an advocate of online prescribing for that, because, because of the potential for abuse, potential of not knowing the patient's physical condition. Now, we spoke of mental and physical health, but when it comes to mental health disorders, a crucial point is to do a good physical examination and associated blood work, etc., to rule out physical illness, because so much physical illness, so many physical illnesses account for mental health disorder symptoms. And over the internet, not knowing all these things and prescribing, you can do more damage to what's already there. So having a full physical examination and etc. done is so important. For our training in psychiatry in South Africa, it was imperative that we did neurology, study of the brain, spinal cord, nerves, and nervous and diseases of the brain and spinal cord, etc., like myasthenia gravis and Alzheimer's and all those things. If you didn't pass neurology and you passed your psychiatry exams, you had to repeat both. So not all, like in the UK, they require you to have a smattering of knowledge of neurology, but you didn't have to do a special exam for that. Even here in Canada, for the fellowship, I just did the psychiatry exam without neurology. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I think it gives a good grounding and pushed home the fact that the physical status is very important. So I'm not an advocate of that so much. So, but to get, if for a repeat of medications, if you can't get hold of your doctor and it's imperative that you have them, there are resources, and you could, in a school, something like OHIP doctors who provide prescriptions. So you don't have to pay out of your pocket for those type of prescriptions. And they might check with your current pharmacy to confirm that you are on these medications. Yeah. And I think most responsible doctors, and hopefully most of them are still responsible, like we old school people were, will check and confirm. And also not to give a full 3-month supply, give a week's supply. So in case they're planning an overdose or whatever, there's less chances of damage with a week's supply than over 3-month supply. And advise them to get hold of their own doctors and get the full prescription at a stage, within that week.
Thank you. Final question. I think, Jay, you had a question before we go?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you.
One quick question regarding marriage and divorce. So what I feel that these young children, when they are married and then it doesn't work together, like they are upset and all that, and they want to go for the divorce, that system is so complicated that all they get is their broken heart, broken home, and all their savings gone. And when they go to lawyer, then they say, okay, and it is so long and everything, and they are like fully depressed and everything. They don't want to, they cut off from the social and everything. And like small example I give, one guy went to the lawyer and said, okay, I want to get divorced. He said, yeah, 500,000 it will cost you. Or so he said, but when I got married, only it cost me 5,000. Yeah. But coming out from jail, it's very difficult. So it is like it will be big. So it should be some simple system. Like if you are not happy, so why you have to carry on? That's my question.
Yeah, although I didn't advocate divorce in marital therapy with couples who are not happy with their marriages.
Yeah,
it's sometimes, doing the therapy and like they continued fighting like they did at home, they themselves came to the realization, you know what, this is not working. In front of Dr. G, if we can't, maintain a calm demeanor and speak without shouting at each other, it's not going to work. This is after many sessions, and they made the decision to part. But thankfully, being in therapy, I helped them to do, I didn't, as I say, they made a decision, but I helped them to draw up a separation agreement, which I didn't sign because of conflict of interest. I got them to get a friend or accountant or whatever to sign. It was less of a contest when they went to court. Unfortunately, some lawyers get their clients to ask for more money and prolong the divorce process, which causes more mental health issues for both sides, what have you. One heartening thing is there are some very good lawyers that made direct referrals to me of people that were planning divorce, or were going through divorce, or were already divorced. So I call that pre-divorce, divorce, and post-divorce counseling. Many of the pre-divorce, I don't know exact numbers, but quite a few of, I should say, of the pre-divorce, divorced individuals decided to stay together because this was a chance. This was the first time they had a chance, right, because of this good lawyer that sent them to have marital therapy, and that was heartening. It was 100% for those who decided that. Post-divorce was mainly for, children, access to the children, what have you, and, that helped them remain friends. And I always advise my patients who plan divorce, always remember that you are mom and you are dad to these kids. And don't turn your kids against, their father or their mother. And I always remind them of that. And one day when your little girl is walking down the aisle, she'll want her dad to, on her arm, to take her down the aisle. So picture that scene and always try and put your anger to one side and, remain friends for the rest of your lives. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you to all, and thank you to Dr. Hari for allowing us to have this platform with you, Dr. Hari. Youth Connections Cafe. It's just amazing. Obviously, we need more sessions with you, and certainly we'd hope that some of our guests attending today will be able to attend because we are here for youth. We're here for celebrating community, and the youth are part of our future. So we really, truly need to support them and be a part of that process of learning and growing together. It is Bell Let's Talk, Youth Connections Cafe. Thank you to Moksha Canada Foundation, and many thanks to our participants here today. Good
Okay, thank you,
Bye-bye.
Lynn.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.